I'm gonna keep this pretty quick. Wuthering Waves is definitely in its filler arc right now, and patch 2.7 part 2 is pretty much that beach episode in the anime where literally nothing happens, but you still kind of want to watch it. The thing is, at least to me, it's pretty relatable because what usually happens before those beach episodes is some crazy shit in the story, like the beginning of 2.7. So it was looking pretty promising, but after the story, there was pretty much nothing to do outside of Tower of Adversity, Whimpering Waste. I don't even like doing Whimpering Waste. So yeah, it's been rough, but before we talk about that, we gotta make sure that even though it's rough, you are still saving on these Loonites for when 3.0 comes out, because that's gonna be the crazy patch. And if you want to do that, all you gotta do is start using U7 Buy. If you're looking for a cheap, safe, and trusted ways to top up for these games, these gacha games, U7 Buy has got you covered with up to 25% in discounts. Let's say, for example, for some reason, you want to top up in Genshin Impact. All you gotta do is put in your UID, process the order, and boom, it'll be there right there immediately. It's really easy to use, and if you're worried about if you can trust it, don't worry, because on Trustpilot, it has a bunch of good flowing reviews, so you don't gotta worry about nothing. So even though we may be going through a dry period or whatever, make sure you use the code Cosmos or the link in the description. You can stock up on your Loonites or Genesis crystals or whatever you want by using U7 Buy, and be ready for whenever all this content starts to come out. Thank you, U7 Buy, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Because the funny part is that I wouldn't even classify 2.7 as a bad patch. I would honestly say it's a great patch. It's just the fact that the patch was definitely being held by Galbrena's story in the Arena Cita 2.7 finale. Because let's be honest, the entirety of the budget obviously quite literally went to that story patch, that storytelling, that story arc, all of it, because it was the best storytelling I've honestly seen in any gacha game, period. And I don't play every single gacha game out there. I'm not gonna be like one of those motherfuckers that are like, oh yeah, I play every single gacha game, I know what the best. I'm not gonna be like that, but I've seen a lot of them, and I can honestly tell you this is probably quite definitely the best storytelling any gacha game has had in any single patch whatsoever, bar none. If you think I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. I'll read them and I'll tell you why you're wrong. And it makes sense that all the budget was funneled into that story arc because it was like one of the longest story patches that Wuthering Waves has ever had, and it was like 3 times as good as all of the other story patches. So it's probably 6 times the budget that they usually put into a story, they put it into this patch, which is probably what they put into everything in the patch, everything into any patch. They probably put all that budget into this story. The angles they had, the cutscene they put in that, the music. It finally felt like they brought in music from Punishing Gray Raving, the same team that did that, even though I don't know if it was, but it felt like they brought in the same team that did Punishing Gray Raving music and finally put it into Wuthering Waves, which is exactly what I've been waiting for. I was like, Kuro Games, we know what you be doing with this music. Just take the same team, put that shit into Wuthering Waves, bro. And it felt like they did it because that music was astonishing, bro. Jesus Christ. That Galbrena first person OST in the background, that shit hit harder than looking down here, you know what I'm saying? And I also had the luxury to play the patch in Japanese and see what the patch sounded like in English. And I feel like they probably raised the budget for both of the voice actors, for all of the voice actors in English, Japanese, and probably all the other languages that I didn't even hear, because everybody did a phenomenal job, especially the final scene of the Threnodian. By the way, I know I didn't say it in the beginning, but I feel like it should be pretty obvious right now. This is just gonna have major spoilers in this video, so if you're not okay with that, click the fuck off. But the final boss fight and the voice actor of the Threnodian in the end, that motherfucker, oh, hit that shit, killed that shit. And then after that, there's like nothing to do. And then the second half of 2.7 comes out, Chuyon comes out, and then you get the Chuyon's story, and it's not like Chuyon's story was even bad per se. Like, his story wasn't even bad. It was pretty enjoyable, and I know a lot of people would agree with that because a lot of people were saying that the story was pretty well executed. It was just really fucking short. It was like an hour and a half, honestly. I think I finished that shit in like an hour, but it was really fucking short. And then after that, there was again quite literally nothing to do. quite literally nothing to do. People were saying that they liked the Chisa story, that it felt like they were watching a TV show, or the fact that it kind of passed all the story holes from 1.0 to 2.7, so pretty much everything that's happened so far, which is crazy because it was like an hour and a half. So it honestly seemed like pacing wise and story wise, people genuinely liked it. But the issue was the production gap, because after spending so much time and love and probably money on galbrena and Rover going through the pits of hell to save the entire world, Chisa's story just does not compare whatsoever. Actually, I think it was like 2 hours long, but don't quote me on it. It just feels a lot shorter, and it's definitely, I'm not saying that it's not polished or not good, but it's not nearly as polished as the Arena Cita finale. It just feels like the devs have pretty much split their teams. Like the A team, the go in team, the lock in team went on galbrena story, and then the B team, first of all, they took people from the B team, they took people and put them into the A team for extra ammo, extra firepower, and then had some people left in the B team. It was like, yeah, just make sure you clean up Chisa's story. And then there's nothing else, no new combat events, nothing to do outside farm materials for characters, which is exactly why the community has been calling 2.7 super dry. Viewership across the board is way lower. Creators, including myself, have been openly taking breaks from the game, taking breaks from making content about the game, because there's really nothing to make content about. And most players are pretty much hopping to games like Duet, Night Abyss, or CosmosZR Nightmare to get their gameplay fix. So it's not that the patch was bad in my opinion, it's just there wasn't much to do in it. And it made people feel like they were burned out, especially after going through all that crazy shit. Now, with that being said, 2.8 is probably gonna be even more boring. I'm still gonna get Chisa. I'm still gonna play the game. I saw the live stream. There's gonna be a whole new world. There's gonna be 2 more story patches. It's gonna bridge 2.0 to 3.0, but there's probably not gonna be that much to experience in 2.8. And I'm not gonna say it's gonna be horrible, but it's not gonna be anywhere near like any of the other patches in 2.0. And it's just obvious to me, because 3.0 is gonna be where everything explodes again. Viewership's gonna explode, the whole game is probably gonna have another jump in quality, and everyone's gonna be feeling like they're in the candy shop again with a whole new game. It's gonna feel like a whole new game. What I'm mainly interested in is seeing how they do their exploration mechanics, because they said that they're not gonna have flight after 2.0, so I wanna see what they do actually in 3.0. If it's gonna be like, I don't know, we're driving in cars, we're driving cyberpunk cars now, we're driving Teslas or something. I don't know, we gotta see what we're doing. But to me, it's pretty obvious that they're saving all their resources for 3.0. So just buckle up, wait it out, play Duet, Night Abyss, or CosmosZR Nightmare until 3.0 come out, because when they do come out, you're in for a trip. I can promise you that. Not that I know, but I know.